Okay guys, welcome to our Turkish Get Up tutorial. I'm joined by Jordi today and we're going to go through the Turkish Get Up and all the movements required to do a perfect Turkish Get Up. The Turkish Get Up requires shoulder mobility, hip mobility, core stability and a lot of coordination. And if you're on the program or if you tried some other program, you basically come across this movement. It's basically programmed in like the accessory part. We don't see it very often in like CrossFit specific style of training, but it's more like an accessory movement to prep the shoulders. You can use it for warm up, you can use it for cool downs. You get some nice rotation of the upper arm in the shoulder to warm up the rotator cuff. You have some stability requirement from like the abs, from the lower back, from the side abs. You have some hip mobility that you can address with the Turkish Get Up, for example, in the warm up or in the cool down. And we always recommend, for being safe, to start out with a lighter weight and then increase the weight as you go. For example, doing like a ladder of Turkish Get-Ups that you start out with the smallest weight you have and then just increase the weight as you go in the session. Or you stay at a lighter load if you're still unsure about positioning or have some issues with mobility, so that you're always safe. If you try to attempt a very heavy weight on the Turkish Get Up, we would always recommend using a spotter. So like a second person who's like knowing what you're doing and who can always assist you and take away the kettlebell if needed. The first step isn't really mandatory if you're using a very light weight, but since we're always trying to do the movement the way we would do with a heavy weight, we try to do everything the same always. And the first movement, or like the first position we get into, is called cuddling. We're kind of cuddling with the kettlebell. And now get nice and cozy with the kettlebell on the floor, Jordi. So what we're looking for is we grab the kettlebell with both hands. We have like a 90-degree angle in our hips and in our legs and also in our arms. What we're then basically going to do is like we brace our abs a bit and then we roll back onto the floor with our back, so that we're in a nice supine position. We have still the 90-degree angle in the leg and we have the kettlebell with both hands securely on our rib cage. Now we use both hands to press up the kettlebell and then we let go with one hand and put the other hand on the floor. And if you look here, his hand is basically in line with his hips. And that's very important for the next position. Also, another thing we're looking at is that the arm and the leg are almost like parallel to each other. And we're always looking for these nice right angles or like 90-degree angles for stability purposes. Now we're going into the next step, which is actually the Turkish sit-up. It doesn't have to do anything with a regular sit-up, it's more like a roll. Jordi is going to demonstrate it. And go back down to the floor and repeat it 2 more times, please. What we can see is that Jordi is like pushing with his left leg and pulling with his right arm. So it's more like a roll onto the elbow and back down and relax for a moment. For most people, especially if you're starting out with Turkish Get-Ups, that's already the hardest part. If you can manage that and if you can manage that safely, this Turkish Get Up is a safe bet, and you already did some good amount of training with it because you were engaging your core, you had some rotation, you had some shoulder stability requirements. But now we want to move on. We want to move on, come to the hand, and then go right into the transition where we put our knee where our hips used to be. Okay, let's go. We start with the cuddling again. Pull the kettlebell to our chest, press it up with both arms. Put the hand in line with our hips, and now we press with the leg again, come to our elbow, come to our hand, and as we come to our hand, we always rotate our hands back a bit so that our wrist isn't like in an uncomfortable position. And now our knee goes where the hips used to be, and then we come up to the half kneeling stance and finish with a nice lunge. When we finish the lunge, we stand on top of the position just to show control, and there we're looking for like a nice open angle in the shoulder, a stable midline, like every time we were holding like a single weight or like a barbell overhead. And now we basically repeat the same movement pattern back down. Okay, go back down, Jody. We always start with a nice lunge. As you've seen, Jody's look went up to the hand or to the handle of the kettlebell, where he wants to his eyesight always to be for like stability and increased proprioception. Okay, and relax. So when starting out with Turkish get-ups, we always recommend pausing in each of the positions. So for example, you come up to your elbow, you pause for 1 or 2 seconds. Then you can check, are you still looking at the kettlebell? Is your knee, is your foot in the right position? Then you come to your hands, also pause for a second. If something is wrong, you can always come back, make a step backwards, and then try again and try to do better for the next time. Or you could improve or like correct the positioning as you go. But this is only a thing we would do with a light weight and in the warm-up, for example. When we attempt heavier weights, everything should be very dialed in and we should hit every position perfectly.